You've got a great idea for a small business, but you just can't get it off the ground. You want to be your own boss, set your own hours. Well, new year means new opportunities, and Shopify's got you covered to help get your venture off the ground. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. You can get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. And they help with the details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard. Don't kick yourself next holiday season when your 2025 resolution list looks the same as it does today. Make it happen with Shopify. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/income.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a
Welcome back, Gen X Grown Up podcast listener, to this rewind edition of the Gen X Grown Up podcast. I am John. Joining me, of course, are my co-hosts, George and Mo. Hey, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
You know, whenever we have a scheduling conflict and we just can't find time to get together on the calendar to record, we don't want to leave our listeners hanging, right? So we look for an older backtrack to go back and revisit and reminisce about. And the one we've selected, I think maybe Mo, you suggested this one, but this is from all the way back in February 2018.
Wow.
That's how long we've been doing this show. And this was a year in, 2018, all about the local radio experience.
Yeah, for sure. I thought this was a great one to bring up again because it's something that really doesn't exist anymore, but it was such an integral part of our music and it was so integral to us growing up, and there's aspects about it that are just missing today.
Things like your local disc jockey, or seeing him at a parade, or I remember we talked, and if I'm remembering right, this episode where we talk about, like, you'd see that person and like, he's a real person in the real world. I thought he was just a voice on the radio, and it, like, your local disc jockey. And I think in this episode, I hope I'm not wrong, George, you tell a story about making dedications to your the target of your affection.
Probably.
Maybe?
I mean, I remember talking about dedications.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. And be the 15th caller and win tickets to blah blah blah.
Well, there's all that and more in this backtrack, all about the local radio experience from February of 2018. I hope you enjoy it.
no games, no puns. Not allowed if you're a grown up.
Welcome back, Gen X Grown Up podcast listeners. Welcome to this backtrack episode of our show. As you know, this is the show between our regular episodes where we pick a single topic from our lives growing up as a Generation Xer and dig in deep. Joining me, as always, I have Mo.
Hey, everybody.
And George is here.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I am doing well. I'm looking forward to talking about and reminiscing about something our fourth listener suggested.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a portion of an email here from our fourth listener, Tom C. And he writes, I think you guys have referenced this once before, but I too remember standing for what seemed like hours with my finger on the play and record button of the portable cassette deck so I could record my new favorite song off the radio.
Oh, yeah.
Then when it finally came on, you had to be totally silent, and inevitably that's when my little sister interrupted one of her ramblings about nonsensical girl stuff. Damn it, get out! Maybe if I call the radio station and make a request, Mom, where's the phone book?
Right.
Oh, yeah. That brings back a lot of interesting memories.
Yep. Oh, man.
So, Tom, you inspired us for this episode of the Backtrack podcast. And in this episode, we're going to discuss not just recording your favorite, but the whole experience surrounding local radio and how it was different. Let's get started.
We're so done with New Year, New You. This year, it's more you on Bumble. More of you shamelessly sending playlists, especially that one filled with show tunes. More of you finding Geminis because you know you always like them. More of you dating with intention because you know what you want. And you know what? We love that for you. Someone else will too. Be more you this year and find them on Bumble.
Hi, I'm Charlie Tuna. Here at K-Hits 97, we spend a lot of time carefully choosing the songs we play. That's why you hear only the music you like best.
Tom C., we are going to kick it off now to talk about your suggestion, which is the experience of local radio stations. And before we get started, we want to clarify what we're talking about, right? So in the 80s,
Right, yeah.
no internet.
No internet.
No satellite radio.
No satellite.
No MP3s on
No-
your iPod.
No podcasts.
Oh my god.
Oh my God, no
Oh my
podcast.
goodness.
So if you wanted to listen to music, you had a couple of choices. You either had to have it on a cassette or an 8-track in your car
Right.
or in your house.
Record, yeah, LP.
You had to literally put a thing with just 5 or 6 songs, or the more common thing is you listen to the radio.
Yes.
And the radio was a local presence in your community.
Absolutely.
It was great because you knew the channel number that you had to tune your radio dial to. Their call letters
Yeah.
generally made up their name, like WGLF here in Tallahassee was Gulf 104.
You had presets, but you actually knew.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know people's phone numbers. I couldn't tell you the phone numbers of any of my best friends because I just auto dial, but I knew I listened to 106.3 and 107.2 and 89. I mean, you knew everything.
When I was a kid, the radio didn't even have, it wasn't a digital, it was analog, so your presets were those physical buttons that you had to jam. I didn't know how to set those things. So you'd tune into that station and you'd tweak it just a little, turning the dial just this way or that.
I had one of my old radio tuners had 2 knobs. It had the coarse tuning,
And
they had
fine.
another knob that had a different
Oh,
pulley that
right.
would turn
I
it
forgot
really,
about that.
really just
Yeah.
gradually.
That's one thing I kind of miss about having that local aspect to it is that everything about it was for your area.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just you.
It was just you. Like, if it happened to be raining outside, they'd be talking about the fact that it's raining.
Yeah.
They just looked out the frickin' window like,
Yeah.
that's raining outside. 'cause
Right.
that's your town.
And it was your local DJ. It was a person that you could see them in the grocery store. You wouldn't know what they looked like because that was the other thing. Their voices always fooled you. They were some of the most
Oh, they
grotesque
look
looking
total-
people most of the
You're
time.
not kidding. They are.
Like us, you know.
What do they say? They have a face made for radio.
Yeah, exactly.
But they sounded like gods.
Exactly.
Those people were like local celebrities.
Yes, they were.
They would sit on the back hump of a convertible in the parade, and they would be at mall openings when the Sears opened down at the mall, back
Right.
when they had Sears.
Montgomery
Oh, yeah,
Wards.
They were like these B-level celebrities that were local. They were kind of approachable, but they gave just a little touch of class because they brought down the local DJ, you know?
Oh, and they would do the live DJ things too locally, right? If you had an event at a local gas station or barbecue
Oh,
place
yeah,
or something,
right.
they would come
Yeah.
down and they would host the radio station from that event and would give away
That's
prize
right.
stuff.
I
That was
forgot about
awesome.
those.
Yeah,
We're live from Joe Smith Dodge Chrysler,
that's right.
where you could get a hell of a deal on a Fiat or whatever the hell they're selling down there.
You'd be in your car with your parents or something, and you would get them to tune it to your station and live from the McDonald's on 5th Avenue.
Oh, that's
And you'd
right.
be like,
yeah.
Mom, let's go. We got to go right now. They're giving away Frisbees.
We're in the big red tent with the inflatable gorilla. Come down, get a hot dog and a Coke, and test drive a Dodge.
That's right.
And they always had a lot of swag to give away.
And now that it's all kind of national with satellite radio, they can get lots of interviews with people because everyone listens, but it's not local at all. And who
Right.
the hell knows who those people are? You never see or talk to. And they're not talking about your town.
Yeah.
For us, sometimes like Sirius 80s on 8 or something like that, they're talking about stuff we remember growing up, but it doesn't have the same feel of this guy is literally down the street. I could drive there right now
Yeah,
and go talk
yeah.
to him.
Because that also kind of takes you to like the fact that you could communicate with these people, right? You could actually call into a radio station. You could talk to that DJ.
Yeah, and it wasn't 8 million people trying to call a national show necessarily. It was just the guy in the booth up the street. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would call and talk to them, right? You would call in, oh, hey, can you play this song that I heard you play the other day?
That was the amazing part, just that interaction with them when they were talking with you on the phone.
Yeah.
For you were like, I'm talking to...
Talking to that guy.
It felt that way to you, but to them, they would just hold a conversation with you sometimes in between songs.
Yeah, you forget they're just people.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I know when I called and asked for my favorite song, in reality, 20 other people probably ask for that song and they have a playlist they have to play. But if you ask for it and the guy said he'd play it for you, then you knew he did.
Yeah.
Or you thought you did.
It felt personal. Absolutely. You felt listened to. You felt like you were a part of that community, that media, whatever you want to call it. You almost felt a little bit like a celebrity celebrity yourself, because sometimes they might even mention...
Give your name.
They might give you a shout out, yeah.
Or just like, hey, for that kid who just called in,
Yep.
I'm going to play Dire Straits right now, or whatever you would call it.
There you go. Yeah, they would. Yeah,
And you'd be like,
cool.
he's talking about me.
Yeah.
You know, be like when the musician would point to somebody from the stage, you know, you're like, he's pointing at me.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
This song's for you, buddy.
Remember, like, calling in requests for other people? This is for Sally on the
Oh, yeah, when you were trying to get that girl or guy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the cool version of that was sometimes they would record you saying, all right, we'll use your voice on the radio, say whatever. Hey, 102 the Power Pig rocks the coast and from 1 to 4. And they would play you back and like, I'm a superstar for 3 seconds.
Yep.
Because you knew like thousands of people were listening to it. I had this experience when I was in college. I was an architecture major, and you're always working like really late in the studio, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we called the DJ, and all 20 of us recommended a song, and he played every single one.
Wow. That's some power.
Because nobody else was awake at that time. These are for the architecture students at Carnegie Mellon that are still awake and working on their projects, and he played like all of these songs. It was damn cool.
The worst, though, was when they would record you dedicating a song to that special someone you were trying to impress, and you'd be all nervous and flub your words, and they wouldn't edit it like we do.
George, did you dedicate a song to your mom?
Yes, I did. Mom, if you're listening to this, you're the only one that I ever dedicated a song to.
You're totally right, George. You're like, this is going to make the difference. She's going to hear that John from Podunk Loftman down by the mud hole wanted to play Heaven in Your Eyes, and that's going to make all the difference.
Yep.
And that he's sorry for what he said earlier.
Oh, right. Yep.
All is forgiven because I heard it on the radio.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
You know, a lot can happen in 7 minutes, and luckily, that's how long it takes me to tell a story. My name is Aaron Califato, and I'm the creator of 7-Minute Stories. I'm proud to partner with Evergreen Podcasts, and I'd like to invite you to join me on this journey. I'm going to take you on some crazy roller coaster rides using my unique extemporaneous storytelling style, and together, we're going to try to make sense of the world, all through the art of storytelling, and all in approximately 7 minutes.
Let's head to the dedication line and find out who this is.
Hi, this is Erin.
Erin, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Reseda.
When's the big date?
Oh, it's in September 15th.
Well, best of luck to you. I'll also tell you what, I'm going to throw in one of Southern California's favorite albums for you.
Oh, great.
And the dedication and the album are from your favorite radio station.
KRS 101.
Did you ever have it like where you would set up with your friends like, okay, I'm going to listen from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. tonight, and let's try and get all these songs played. You would try and like do these little hidden agenda radio broadcasting, like guerrilla warfare kind of things.
Wow, you were way more organized.
We would. We would try and do all kinds of stuff.
Kidding.
We're going to set the agenda.
Think about like when contests were coming up, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, they would be giving away concert tickets or free food coupons to the local restaurant or something. You had to be a certain caller.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it was connected to like, if they're 107, then they're like, be the 7th caller at 7777777 or whatever crazy number they had. You had to be the nth caller to win.
Oh.
Super challenge sometimes, depending on the phone you had.
Did you guys have that friend that was really good at doing that? Being the 10th caller? I had a guy who was like a master at that.
We would have like banks of people because you only have one phone in your house at that point, right? You know, you didn't have like multiple phones. So we would have like a group of like 10 friends, and we would all call in to try and block everyone else out, and one of us would win.
Dogpiling the contest.
Yes, we were. Because those damn rotary phones were hard to deal with, man.
Yeah.
You had to dial the first 6
and
numbers.
then you had to wait.
Yep, thanks. You're the 3rd caller.
Right.
Damn it, I gotta start over.
And by then it was too late, because if you were the 3rd caller and it had to be the 12th, forget it. You're not getting
You'll
that
never get
rotary
back in.
phone around in time.
That's right.
I grew up in New York. They didn't do like 3rd caller. They would do like the 80th caller. This is New York City.
Right.
You know, a lot of people listening. And so trying to time that was like almost impossible. I don't know why I remember this, but there was a radio station called 99X.
Okay.
And they played mostly pop stuff. They had this contest where they would give out these these clues to a location in the city. And if you went to that location at a certain time and found their person there, you would win like $1,000.
No, I can't say they did that, but that's cool.
Now, here's the thing, though. You had to walk up to people and ask them, hey, are you the
Are
99X
you
guy?
that person?
So you had to go down there and pester a bunch of people.
And let me tell you, and some of the clues, that they were tough.
You could just walk up and clock people and start searching their purses and stuff, couldn't you?
Yeah, I guess you could. But one time my brother figured it out. Him and my other brother went there and they brought our dog. And he said people were asking, like, is that the 99X dog? Is that the
You were like faking them out and stuff on purpose. That's awesome. You know, here locally was a smaller market. So what they would do, what I noticed with contests, if it was a contest for a coupon to the gas station or food place or whatever, it would be the 10th caller or the 9th caller. But when they would have those bigger contests for the bigger, larger prizes or cash money or whatever, then it would become the 99th caller.
Did you ever get the one where they would try to call you, and if you answered your phone with a certain catchphrase, you won?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was really big here, too.
Now, the smart contest I always thought they did later was to get people to listen more frequently is rather than saying call in now, they would say, here is the song of the day. You got to listen all day. When you hear the song, that's when you dial in.
When you hear this song, call in.
Yep.
Song of the day.
Oh, yeah, they were
Exactly.
sneaky.
Yeah, that'd have you listening for hours on end. You'd be like, damn it, I went to a bathroom. Crap.
And here's your $3
Right.
prize.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could be the cheapest prize, but they never had a problem with people calling in.
Well, no, because it was the experience that you were having fun with. It wasn't necessarily the prize.
That's the whole point of this
Yeah.
backtrack. Yeah, it was more than just winning that burger. It was the fact that you were on the radio.
That's
doing it,
right.
You know?
Other people were hearing what you were doing.
Speaking about like waiting for that song to come on, that contest, you guys remember trying to record your favorite song?
Oh, man.
That's all part of the listening experience. We talked about, you knew the people and
Yeah.
you could talk to them. Listening to the radio was a whole different world.
It was a different experience. I mean, it was a totally different experience.
This is exactly what Tom C., who wrote in, was talking about. That experience of, I don't know if I get a chance to buy this at the store. I don't have the money. I'm going to record it off the radio. And you're sitting there waiting to push play record,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
I have a pet peeve.
George, you? Really?
Yeah, me? Who? I'm the nicest guy on the planet.
Add it to the list.
So cassettes at that point, they were like $10 if they were in the bargain bin. They were $20, when they were first coming out and stuff. And they would have 12, maybe 13 songs on them, I think, something along those lines.
That'd be a lot, actually.
That was a lot of your allowance, or if you had a small little part-time job once you got to high school age or something, that was not a small buy for you. That was large.
That's several hours of work.
That would be like today if you went to go buy the super edition of some video game or something that's like $120 that comes with a prop or whatever.
Yeah,
it was an investment. Yeah, you would get the perfect song. It would be crystal clear audio for the cassette at the time and all. But I didn't have that. I needed to record off the radio because I didn't have that kind of money.
Me too.
The thing that always pissed me off, the songs would start and that damn DJ would keep talking. And he wouldn't shut up until the singer would start the words.
And they knew exactly how much time they had to ramble.
Because they listened to the song 40 million times, so they knew that there was 10 seconds worth of musical intro before the singer would start. And it was like, well, that's not important, only the singer. No, shut up. I want to get the entire song because I love the music as well as the singer.
If you're doing Boston's foreplay long time, they could talk for 3 minutes over that shit before they actually start singing.
Or they would cut off the end of a great song.
And don't forget to come down to your local Chevy dealership and
like Hotel California. That's got a 2-minute guitar riff at the end of that.
Yep.
And I swear to God, I tried to record that song about 15 different times. And that stupid DJ would either cut the song off to go to the next one or would start talking about the local car dealership. And I want to slap the crap out of him sometimes for that. I would call the station. Look, the next time you play Hotel California, I'm going to record it. So shut the hell up. That's my rant for today.
They know the only time they wouldn't cut off your song at the front of the end is when they would run one of their dump songs. You know about these? Like American Pie by Don McLean.
Right. Uh-huh.
That song's like 8.5 minutes long.
Oh, yeah.
And if the DJ needed to go take a dump, he would put on one of these really long
the bathroom
songs.
break song, right?
It started and it ran all the way to completion. You know that's one of those, he had to go take a crap, and so he plays the longest track he has. They were conspicuous. They'd run about the same time of the day. That was the only time you could get a song that wasn't chopped off.
Yeah, because it's not like it is now where everything's digital and they can queue up 20 songs in a row or...
Sure. Yeah, they had to get back. They had to queue up the next one. The other thing is you had to wait often to the end of the song. You couldn't just pause it because there was no Shazam. There was no app to find out, hey, what song is this?
Right.
What song is playing?
You had to hope at the end of it they said, and that was this new song by this new
Which
artist.
they didn't always do.
I know, like, who the hell was it?
Well, especially if they were in one of the middle of those, we're going to play 10 songs in a row with no commercial interruption
Right.
or something. And then what
Yep.
you would have to hope is that at the end of that, he would say, and the songs in that segment were...
They do a rundown, right.
And then you had to
Yep.
kind
Yeah.
of pair it up and say, okay, it was the third song in that group, and yeah.
That ends up making record stores more important because back then you could walk in a record store and say, I heard this song, it goes like this.
Yeah.
And he might be able to tell you, whereas now you can just Shazam it. You don't have to do any human interaction.
Right.
Yeah. Let me tell you, but that's how you learned about new music.
Of course.
Either a friend had the album, right? Or you heard it on the radio.
Right.
I mean, that was really the only two ways you had.
Yeah,
to
90%
expose
of the
music.
time it was hearing it on the radio first.
Yeah, because my buddies, they couldn't afford to buy records either. So we
Right.
all heard it on the radio.
Exactly.
first.
Hello, and welcome to Novel Conversations, a podcast about the world's greatest stories. I'm your host, Frank Lavallo, and for each episode of Novel Conversations, I talk to two readers about one book. And together, we summarize the story for you. We introduce you to the characters, we tell you what happens to them, and we read from the book along the way. So if you love hearing a good story, you're in the right place. Our 9th season is coming this fall. Tune in to hear from some of the all-time great authors, Charles Dickens, Jules Verne, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and more. Subscribe to Novel Conversations wherever you listen to podcasts.
My name is Cindy Burnett, and each week I interview at least 2 traditionally published authors on my podcast, Thoughts from a Page. We talk spoiler-free about their books, so you can listen whether you have read the book or not. And then we delve into things that you most likely won't hear about anywhere else. The importance of the cover design, why they included various aspects of the story, personal details about both the books and the authors' lives, and so much more. You can find the podcast on every major platform and learn more about it on my website, thoughtsfromapage.com. Thanks so much for checking it out.
Now, as we get set to hear the number 1 song in the land, let's check out the number 1s on Billboard's other charts. Number 1 on the country chart is Mama, He's Crazy by the Judds. And on the 4 other major Billboard charts, we have the same artist holding down all the top spots. That happened just over a year ago when Michael Jackson was at number 1 on the soul chart and the pop chart with Billie Jean. And number 1 on the dance chart and the album chart with his LP Thriller.
You guys ever do any late night listening? I always like that better because generally the DJs had more time, it was less commercial. That's when they would play like deep tracks or...
Oh, not just the payola.
Yeah.
Once I got a little bit older, you'd stay up later and listen 2 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. You know, and tangentially related to that, I did some late night listening, Mo, but for me it was more of, I love like old radio shows from the 40s and 50s and old AM radio.
AM?
They were news during the day, but in the evening, there was this great series called the CBS Radio Mystery Theater. It was really the end. It was the bookend on the end of any kind of radio fiction. But I remember growing up that they would run that every night on my local AM station if you had to stay up to like 10 o'clock at night to hear it. But it was the only place you could get that other than buying old tapes of, you know, The Shadow or Fibber McGee and Molly.
Well,
or
that's what I was going to
there.
ask, because I remember when you and I met when you were in college, John, you had a huge collection of like Shadow tapes and stuff that you had recorded from somewhere. Was that where you got them from, those late night AM radio shows? Or
You're kind of right, George. The Shadow and those shows that you're talking about, I never heard on radio originally. They were long gone before I was born.
Yeah.
But my introduction to loving that kind of like audio only fiction, and now these days translated to what is podcast fiction, you know, great shows. I first found a love for that by listening to that old AM radio. And you didn't know what it was going to be. It could be a monster story. It could be a murder mystery. It could be anything. You were there. 10 o'clock at night, I was supposed to be asleep, got the AM radio on, and I'm listening to some spooky story on late night radio. That was the only place to get it. And then later I found out, oh, this was inspired by, you know, the 40s and 50s old talk radio. And that was when I first was introduced to it.
We've talked a lot about the local radio, and that was always a blast. But your local radio, they didn't just run just local stuff all the time. They would also run these syndicated things that they would get from, you know, the bigger markets and stuff, and you would have your national broadcast that would happen on
the Top 40 Countdown with Casey Kasem.
Right.
Yeah.
Who didn't listen to that?
And he writes, Dear Casey.
Well, you were talking about the late night thing. I remember the first late night thing I heard was Dr. Demento.
Oh, sure, all the parody songs. That's where Weird Al got his start.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
There were some somewhat famous national radio DJs like Wolfman Jack.
Sure.
You know, he was a big guy in the 70s, I guess, right?
50s, actually.
Does he go back that far?
Like 50s, 60s. I think he went back to the 60s at least.
Really?
Well,
Wow.
Mo, you're older than us, so you would know.
Well,
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
right.
listen to him then, but I know he's been around for a really long time.
Mo was listening to radio during World War II when the Japanese were sending broadcasts.
Yeah. He's not that old. He's still a Gen X. Just because you're the baby, George, doesn't mean everyone is ancient.
That's right.
Casey Kasem, the top 40 countdown every week.
Top 40 countdown.
Yep.
We listen to that probably every week.
Oh, yeah. It was an event.
Yeah, that was a prime place to record your favorite songs because all the good ones are going to be there.
Oh, yeah.
And if my artist got kicked out of the number one spot, I'm pissed.
Oh, yeah.
He wouldn't just like introduce us. There's always like a small story behind every song.
There's a story, absolutely. Yeah.
I thought that was a cool aspect to what he did.
This singer got his start when he was collecting turtles in the backyard, and he would prick his finger, and that made him think of prick your finger, blah, blah, blah.
It's like a tiny bit of behind the music on VH1. You get that little snippet of just an insight into the artist.
But it was funny, though, to me, because Casey Kasem, he had probably the most unique voice in radio.
Yeah.
It was so full of cheese, but it was so good at the same time that I just couldn't stop listening to him. It was so funny.
I wouldn't have pegged him for a radio personality listening to him the first time.
Right.
But boy, he sounded so sincere and a little bit hammy all the time, didn't he?
Yep.
I think it's fair to say that there was a lot that was unique and special about radio when we were growing up. A lot of that is lost, but in a small way, I like to think that by producing podcasts like this, what we're doing, talking directly to our listeners and listening back to them, it's not quite live, but I hope we're doing our part to kind of resurrect a little bit of that Gen X experience, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. I mean, you get to know us through listening to our different podcasts, just like you got to know that DJ when you would listen to your local radio station.
For better or worse, you get to know us. Take the good with the bad. Yeah. And we love producing it because we like getting to know you guys when you write in or when you send us suggestions or you view or leave comments on videos. It's that interactivity, I think, is one of the pieces that sparks us loving to generate content with GXG for people listening, like our fourth listener here on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Yep, I'm with you on that one.
I really enjoyed that Backtrack podcast, guys. I know that we talked about some stuff we can throw in the show notes down there, some of our favorite radio station oldies. I'm sure there's some videos on YouTube or something that we'll put in the show notes for some links for you guys to check out so you can relive the local radio experience just like we love to do.
And so you don't miss any of our great podcasts in the future, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or however you get your podcasts.
And whether you listen on iTunes or not, we would appreciate if you pop open iTunes, search for Gen X Grown Up, and leave us that 5-star review and a rating, because that helps other people find us. And if you have a friend who doesn't listen to the Gen X Grown Up podcast, tell them about us. If you like the stuff we're doing and they're your friend, they might like it too.
You know, we obviously started this podcast because we got an email from our fourth listener. We want to hear some of your ideas. Some of the things that you grew up with during your generation. We want to find out the topics you would like us to talk about. Send us an email at podcast@genxgrownup.com.
You can visit us on YouTube or you can check out our site, which is genxgrownup.com.
You sure can. Hey, I enjoyed getting together. Mo, thanks so much.
Oh, yeah, this is fun.
George, always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
We will have a new show next week, so we'll see you back then.
See you guys.
See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
Gen X Grown Up is a member of the Evergreen Podcast family. Learn more at evergreenpodcasts.com.
While she shows till sunrise. Unacceptable for grown-ups. Your dinner cannot just be French fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.
Yeah, and whether you use iTunes or not, we would really appreciate if you would stop by. I'm going to burp there.
Can't edit that out.
No.
Hi, this is comedian and writer, and let's be honest, I do a lot of things. This is Dino Tripodis, the host of Whiskey Business, the podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey. Yes, we drink and talk about whiskey, but we do so much more with so many interesting people. For example, we talk to comedians like Greg Warren.
You know, I don't want to brag, but let's just say I can walk into a Red Lobster and get whatever. I think the pause right there is probably more important than the word.
Amazing athletes like boxing champion Buster Douglas. When a fighter's down and he's looking for his mouthpiece instead of trying to get up.
That's when I knew it was over.
Yeah, right? And yes, Bigfoot chasers.
Do you believe in Bigfoot? And if so, does he really eat beef jerky?
The Bigfoot thing is people have seen these, and I've seen a lot of compelling evidence about it.
It's Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis. Join us for what we call a good conversation with a good pour. You really can't ask for much more than that, can you, people? Check us out at whiskeybusinesspod.com, a proud member of the Evergreen Podcast Network.